I'm plugging you in into the system. So when you're ready to start, indicate to me. All right. You hear me,
I'm
ladies?
already
Huh?
I'm already live on YouTube, but not playing that. Just a starter.
Oh, you're live on YouTube. Okay. So, all right. All right. So we're ready now then. I sent you a video a while ago. Did you look at it?
A while ago?
Yes. It's on your phone. It's on your phone. It's one of those YouTube charts, I think. You want to give it a listen? And you have to keep the sound volume up in the studio so we can so my so the speakers and this thing can pick it up here.
Okay.
Because if you turn it down too low, it don't have to be too loud, but I mean loud, you have to have the volume that we normally use that will allow me to hear it. You looking at me? What are you looking at me for? Eh? What are you looking at me for? What's happening? We're having a financial report this morning.
Supposed to.
Not the first one, the second one. The one as I said last, That's the one I want you to play for me. Or look at this morning if you want to be able to look at it. Think with time running fast, too fast for that. We shall be starting already long time.
You know what it is?
I wanted you to. Yeah, but I'm saying time is 20 past 7 now. The time gone. That's the time no, is when this is the time we should do it.
So what you
Because
want me to do?
do you want to look at it? Because it 5 minutes. I
I
don't
can
know.
cut it phone. But then I would have to email it in order to share it on the screen. I have to download it.
Listen, that can't happen now. It can't happen now. It can't happen now. All right, so let's come on then, no, and then just do light greetings and just talk about the day and stuff like that. All right.
Okay.
Dr. O'Neill Duncan this morning, of course, he's going to make you his guide this morning. Of course, we should all be deliberate in making God our choice and, of course, our guide in at every step of the way this morning. Literally, I know for me, I am sometimes careful as to what I will do and how I will make my approach. I'm very careful how I make my approaches into things that I am going to do next. I would be careful and be mindful that I must always somehow ask God's approval of what I'm embarking upon. You know, and so that is for me where I stand today, resolute that this is how I'm operating. That's a reality that I find.
Your reality, of course, is a real reality this morning. I want to say thank you for, being who you are on the breakfast hour, always sharing some very crucial and important things in life. I love that song by Dr. Duncan. I know where you are. I know you're trapped by the sins that so easily beset us. I know you wanted to share a particular video, Mikey G, and I'm trying to get it all loaded up for you. and so that the listeners could hear it this morning. And of course, I know you always have very interesting things to share. I should say?
Well, I would say to you, you say what you need, you say what you say.
Say what I
What
say.
you should say is not a script. I would say what your mind tells you to say. And if that's what your mind tells you to say, then say that. You know, I don't want to be curtailed and to be curved by persons um, what you call their perspective. Yeah, I want to have my own perspective, and my own perspective must be the one that I actually come from all of what I see around me. I would
Yes.
gather it,
Yes.
and the person who shares something with me would have shared it from their perspective.
Yes.
So what is wrong if I do the same? When somebody comes and say, no, 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 you can't think like that. No, 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 you can't think like that. It is impossible to say that because you want to tell me how to think, but at the same time, you have been taught how to think. You are telling me now what you think I should think. You know, it's a ridiculous thing to see, right? But the reality of it is, you're not listening to me. I am feeling this way.
Yes.
This is why I think this way because I am feeling this way. And if you feel oppressed, how would you think that this person you'd express yourself? You'd express yourself how? How would you express yourself? If you're somebody who is oppressed all the time, how would you express yourself? You would be joyful and it's another beautiful morning. You'd be coming out and say, I don't feel so well this morning. I feel oppressed. But the next person who is not oppressed and is the oppressor, oh, what a great morning I'm having. Well, you have the whip beating. That kind of thinking. So we have people who are like that and thinking that you shouldn't feel the way you feel. So I would say to guys, people, don't do that. Look at what the person is going through, and then
Yes.
that at that point, see why they're having the conversation they're having, and you might have to go into their shoes and relate to that before you can even have any sensible conversation. You know, and this is a place that we must not find ourselves. Here we are, here it is. At the point when somebody needs your dire needed and needs your help, sometimes what we do is point out all the faults that we have. It's
Mm-hmm.
a bad thing. Here is I am having this situation to deal with. I'm now in problems or in a situation, and then here's the first thought that I come up with. I am going to now have to strike out. I'm in the middle of the ocean and I'm swimming. But I can't swim in the middle of the ocean, so I'm drowning.
Well, I have the video up. You won't be able to see the video, but you could hear it.
Well,
Um,
I think just the you don't have to see it. I think the audio on it
the audio on it
would
is okay.
the audio on it could work.
All right, let's go. Let's go with that then.
I think the
John
audio.
Alanchukwu. Hello. I'm here to speak on behalf of our younger children and their academics. This book, It Feels Good to Be Yourself, which has an oxymoronic title based on its content, can be found in 26 elementary schools. It is geared towards K2, and as Macmillan Publisher says, it basically is geared toward ages 4 through 8. It introduces 4 different characters with different gender identities. It makes it seem as if gender is an imaginary concept that can be changed on a whim, when the truth is gender is factual. You're either a boy or a girl. And gender identity, what you see yourself as, that's imaginary. Well, let me read you a couple of things. First character is Ruthie. She's a transgender girl. That means when she was born, everyone thought she was a boy until she grew a little older, old enough to tell everyone that she's actually a girl. Then there's her brother Xavier. Xavier is a cisgender boy. Which 4 through 8-year-old knows what cisgender means? Can they spell cisgender? That means when Xavier was born, everyone thought he was a boy, and as he grew older, it turned out everyone was right. He was a boy. Then there's Alex, the friend. Alex is both a boy and a girl. Then there's JJ. JJ is neither a boy nor a girl. Ever since JJ was very little, they never felt exactly like a boy or girl. They just felt like themselves. This is JJ's gender identity. Some kids feel like girls. Some kids feel like boys. Some kids feel like a little bit of both. Part boy, part girl. Reminds me of that old commercial. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Is that okay? Some kids don't feel exactly like a boy or a girl. They feel like neither. Some kids feel that their gender identity isn't always the same. It's often changing. So now are we endorsing schizophrenia? What are we doing? Whether you feel like a boy or a girl or neither, if you describe yourself another way, that is your gender identity. When does this foolishness stop? When you shroud lunacy, insanity, or fallacy in colorful words and pictures to be read to young children, you have created an unsafe environment, since we're talking about safe environment, right? Where does it stop? At this tender age, our children should be learning their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Who authorized this? Who told you that you are God? Who gave you permission to tell our children who they are and who they're supposed to be? This is intentional and evil at its core. Get back to what you were elected to do and formally educate our children, not indoctrinate them with left-wing ideologies under the guise of providing a safe and welcoming space. Hear us clearly. We will not surrender our children. Leave our children alone.
Wow. Wow.
Very, very interesting discourse, very interesting conversation, Mikey G. And I think
26 gender.
26, and this is what she's saying is shared in school, to the
Not
children,
shared, not shared, but taught.
taught in school.
Not just sharing, this is a curriculum mandate to teach children this ridiculous thing, right? And we find that this thing was, I tell you, about a week ago, a month ago, when we felt overwhelmed with this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this morning I wake up and I could listen to it and don't feel the same way. I wonder why. Are you feeling the same? All right, let me ask you. Us talking about it this morning versus us talking about it 3 months ago or having this conversation. How do you feel about talking about it this morning versus 3 months ago?
I think I've been sensitized to the whole idea of it, and now it's becoming less shocking for me to hear. Um, I, you know, I'm a bit distracted in my thought and my thinking, though, Mikey G. Although it's sort of related, there are certain behaviors that I think apply to females and some that apply to males. But I notice that it is all changed. Like if you interact with females on the road, you will recognize that females behave in a certain way. Um, Unfortunately, we are not the first to give someone, we stop and allow someone across. Sometimes we are not the first to do that as females. I don't know why. It's just some things that are typical, and some things like how in terms of, they would say women talk a lot, but I notice all of that is changing too. That men are doing what women do, and women are doing what men do.
But here's a rule of school of thought in that conversation, Lady Elise.
Yes.
Here's how it goes, right? So the being an orator is not necessarily a woman's position or a man's position.
Uh, no. Well, all
So
right.
when you talk about in speaking, you have to watch the context of it, because here is a situation that we are the ones who express ourselves, and by expressing ourselves through words, here is the way it goes. We have to look at the context of where the conversation is now,
Yes.
in terms of, it's not this time, it's not about men and women anymore.
Right.
So it's not what men and women do.
Right.
We are now looking at a feminizing of the men
So you mean when
and
you
a
used to say
masculinizing of the woman.
so when you used to say women have a sort a way, like even in the workplace, if you interact with women, it's different. There's a different interaction is men with men. Are you saying the old adage where you would see women talking about other women and what they wear,
No, no, that don't stop. That never
men
stop.
doing it now?
I think let me share this with you. I don't think it's something that's a man or a woman thing. I think what you're looking at is that you're hearing a lot of things going on. Right now, I can confirm with you that a lot of men are so feminized that they feel that they are women. So they'll actually have the same kind of conversation. But men always talk, but not necessarily discuss each other. You understand? We always talk about stuff,
I'm seeing that
right?
I've had some disappointing interactions, and I was really concerned, Mikey G. I was really concerned because I do not expect, especially in the Christian realm, that
Well,
um, when that should erase all sort of natural feminine and masculine tendencies, the negative ones that I mean. It should not happen in the Church of God where you find that I don't like you, so I'm gonna just do stuff. Should that be happening in the whole? When we say we carry feelings, we had that conversation, right, Mikey G?
yeah. Well, you brought the conversation here. I didn't really intend for it to come this direction, but guess what? Since you bring it here, I'm going to address it. Well, what
Address it.
I went and
Address
looked
it.
at the church itself then and say, well, then the men are completely switching roles in a sense, because
Yes.
we
Yes.
no longer believe in role in each person having their roles to play. We
Yes.
have used scripture that we are both male and female, which means that we are both man and woman at the same time. And the Bible, we as Christians now using that text to support women leadership, stuff like that. So we want to make our women men, so they lead the men, and the women must be women, so the women they can be led by the women. That's what you must look at if that's where you take the conversation, right? But then here is and so there's a blurring of the lines.
Yes.
Dialing it back is something that is going to take a little time to do, but then our men are even somewhat comfortable being led by their women. And so in doing that, no, I'm serious. It is me is what I'm the person you would call a toxic masculinity kind of person. Because I'm not going to subscribe to anything like that.
Well, I know I opened that can of worms.
No, no, I
I
know, but
know
I
I opened it
you
because
did you did not. I didn't want to come this direction, but then since you do
okay,
that, then
I'm gonna
I'm going to
dial it.
go. I'm going to go there, and then to see our men comfortable, and we are just subdued, and it is ridiculous to look at it. But here's
Okay,
here's where
so so
here's where
so
here's where I
before
go.
while you go there, right? While you go there, I will ask you this question in your going there, and I think there's a passage in the Bible speaks about a nagging woman and it dripping of the water.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
right, so no, men are nagging, women are not. Is it a true thing?
Well, uh, like I said to you
We are
before,
switching everything, so you
we are,
have
we
men
are
who are
finding that, but you must understand there's an agenda that exists.
yes,
We started out the idea a while ago. We want to talk about the nonsense that goes on in school. But then listen to what you're talking about the result of it already. We didn't even get to talk about it yet. You went right to the result. The result of that conversation that you're listening to came from feminism. All of that you just heard a while ago, what we played, came from the concept of feminism.
mm,
Equality only operates in the feminizing of men. If you feminize men, then a woman can be equal to the masculine man,
Mhm. Mhm.
being masculine, right? And so, because you know would have to be masculine to match that energy, because it's not something normal for you to do. And so, what we have been doing using feminism to teach that kind of concept, then what it did was to mushroom into homosexuality. Because if when you look at it, you're hearing women who are talking about their own. You go to work, you own your own place, you have all these things. So you went to work and you're tired from all the things that you have been doing all week, right? All the things that you have been doing. You work every day. So let's look at one simple day activity at work. You went to work, and so by going to work, you would have provided do all the tasks that you should do at work. But the next thing you know, when you come back from work, you're at home now, and of course you want somebody to cook your dinner. You want somebody to be welcoming you when you come home. You want somebody to actually not just cook it in and welcome you home, but to actually run a bath for you, of course, make a bath for you, and of course, keep the bed warm. That when you get in, you feel good. What you actually need as a woman at that point is a wife. You don't need a husband, you need a wife. So you are listening to the conversation being subliminally taught to women that when you actually go into the man's roles in certain ways, that you want to have a wife, not a husband. And this is what it did. But let's get back to where we started the conversation with our children being affected.
Yeah,
What you have not set clear lines for your boys versus your girls. And so now you're seeing the results of our girls thinking that they're boys and our boys thinking that they're girls. Well,
and I noticed on the video that you shared, Mikey G, that it had, I think it had over, let me see how many views. It had 2.6 million views. 2.6 million people looked at this video.
the thing is that a small amount of persons that looked at it, and most of the persons who looked at it are not the ones who enjoy seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are persons who are upset that somebody would be able to come out and say these things, and you should be in prison to say it. That's what you're looking at. I go straight to what we call Christian education.
Right.
I go right to Christian education, you know, and Christian education for me would simply mean that you have a Christian background and belief system that you teach the kids,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But then what you're looking at is that the very Christian education school, or the schools that are boasting Christian education, under that regime had to adopt the same principle of schooling to teach this very school that are Christian education. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, what that system told you was that the person who was employed to the school, being a Christian institution, did not necessarily have to be a member of a church or a Christian.
Right.
Just being an educator and have the best qualification, and you have to employ them in your Christian education school that you want to teach Christian education to your children.
Yes. Yes.
And that person would be a known homosexual who want to bring that agenda within your realm.
Uh-huh.
And you see that, but then you'd have to look at the reason why they have this power to actually bring this into your Christian institution.
Yes.
And that would be because you have taken grants from the government
It's
to
an
run your Christian education.
it's an
And anybody who monetize you, anybody who gives you funding are the ones who control what you say.
anybody who gives you funding. It's an interesting thing to see that though we have found ourselves in this situation, though we feel that the entire world is accepting of it, here comes a woman who says, listen, you have put this book in the school and you're teaching our children this information and we don't want it.
This misinformation.
We don't want this misinformation. What are we doing as people? Do we just go with the flow? Do we just accept everything that is just put out there? Do we say yes for every
Yes.
single thing? Every single thing. No, they're teaching us. And of course, as you said, it's not as abrasive to my ears as it would have been a few years ago because I would have heard it so often, and that means that the goal is being accomplished. And so we have to be the ones to share the gospel or what is correct. Share the right information, not misinformation.
What we have found ourselves also is that many churches, even churches know, and this is not a church where you're identifying one church versus the other.
Right.
Looking at Christian institutions who claim Christianity, adopting these languages and teaching it to their congregation.
Yes.
And a person like me who will not adhere to it,
Yes.
you would call me names because I'm not going to accept it. You're not going to teach me that, and you're not going to teach my son. You're not going to teach my daughter.
Well, you
what is
have
our son?
you have limited control, Mikey G. I hate to break it to you because you don't go to school with your children,
No, I
and
don't.
what you have to do is what you have been mandated to do is to share what God has laid on you. It says in Deuteronomy, you must teach them when you're going out and you're coming in. That is how important education
Moderating
is.
is important.
Right?
We are going back to the Bible, going back to the scriptures, going back. Feminism is a demonic force, a
Do you have to
demonic
go back
spirit.
there? Tell me. You
I
have to go
have
back.
to. No,
But
because
yeah,
I'm saying to you what we are looking at. We are looking at destruction of the homes. The women don't want to be the mothers of the homes anymore. They want to be the fathers of everywhere.
oh
They don't want
boy.
that role anymore.
Oh boy. Is
So we have
that
found we have a clash going on. The men must stay
yes.
home and take care of the kids, and you
Yes.
must come along with the little babies everywhere. The men have them now traveling, while the women are now being the men everywhere. You know,
Yes.
you look at it. You go to school, a woman teach you. You go to work, a woman is your boss. You go to church, a woman is your elder or leader, pastor. You look at
But
all
what I
these
want
things.
to find out,
Your sons are you're adversely affected mentally,
so
and then you want to train him up in the way he should go. You
so
can't
listen,
train him
see you
up like
bring it
that.
back right here. You brought it back right to the question I asked earlier.
Don't want this
The
connection.
feminine tendencies that we have. For example, and I don't want to label them because I'm also a female, and from birth, I've been assigned from birth as a female. Um, but there are some tendencies that are unique to females. Not all of them positive. Some of them can be a little negative. Like, we say sometimes females tend to be the one who um, sometimes they talk about people rather than things, like information. Sometimes that is an alleged. Do you say that this goes up right to our leadership level? If we still carry these feminine tendencies with
You know,
us,
you know what?
regardless. Is
Here's
that
what
what you're saying?
I'm saying, Lady Liz, is that what we can't is blame the persons who are acting the roles right now.
We
They are,
can't.
they are, they are oblivious to it. The persons who are acting in these roles are oblivious to it.
Well,
The men who have switched to being feminine, and the women who have switched to be masculine.
yeah, because I
They're
hear some men
oblivious.
talking and they sound so feminine because they are talking about and they're tearing down their fellow men. And I'm like, how do you speak one thing and do
Could
the
you could
other
you could you
thing?
could you
And
could you
on
play that?
top, and I have to add that layer, Christian men. No, it's another thing. You're masculine and you're a
They want to be
Christian
led.
man.
They
And
want to be led by women. They want to be led by women. No,
how
it's crazy
do
to see
you
that.
tear down? How do you tear down
Yes.
a brother or a sister?
No.
How? It does
Listen,
not add up.
I am, ladies, I will say to you, I am not looking at the persons who are acting in the roles right now to say that they are wrong or right. I am saying you have been tainted, you have been affected, and you don't even realize that you have
Oh
been
wow,
guided
I don't know this.
poorly,
I don't think
right?
I can manage this conversation anymore.
It's a dangerous precedent that we have set, you know.
I know I
Listen,
cannot.
I want you to play, I want you to, for the listeners, if you're just joining us, I want you to replay that for us again this
Oh,
morning.
okay. I'm gonna get it ready. Give me a
All right.
moment to get it ready. But yeah, yeah. I really find
Play
it.
it for instance once again, because what we are looking at, you know, is very straight. Hey, we are in, that's deep water we're in right now, you know.
It's deep water,
Very
right?
deep water, you know. Because when you're mixing up these things, when you mix up the gender, we just describe how gender mixing up go. You can't mix it up in the church as well. You cannot do the same thing. You can't do it there as well. You cannot do that.
Oh
We can't be
boy.
joining the ranks of the persons who have got it wrong, claiming that we're getting it right here, so and claiming God's purview on it as well at the same time. It can't be correct. Something is wrong. Now we must have a place where we stand, and we're not saying you must go harm people and not be, you know. But to say it, some people don't want to hear it, but you must say it. You're not disrespecting anyone, but you have to make it clear that you're saying it. You must be able to say it. We have been muzzled for so long under the guidance until the election, October 6th is what, November 6th. People, even the United States, were afraid to have a conversation like this. Afraid to have this conversation. We have to give thanks to Donald Trump for winning the election. We say that I don't know about
Did you
anybody else.
just go there? Did
I had to
you
go there. I
just?
had to go there because you know, we had so many persons who were simply not having any testicles left to stand up against this nonsense. Until that, before November 6th, many persons would not want to even hear this conversation. I would dare not have it. Dare not have it. It's a horrible place to sit and stand up. It's a nasty place to be, you know. And we must, by all means, you have to identify the thing that is wrong, and then make it clear. No, he that knows the thing that is wrong and continue to do it. You know the thing that says, right, that statement. He that does the wrong thing still, he that know it and know that it's wrong and continue to do it.
And does the wrong thing still.
Yeah, you know the whole thing. I don't remember it right now, but I just remember a little part. I just That's where I remember that little part.
Ah.
It is incorrect to do something like that. You don't do that. We
Oh
have to get it.
yes. Our financial advisor is going to be joining us this morning, Mikey G.
Yeah, I think you should let him join us, and then when we come back, we could pick up the conversation after the fact, and we come back for that one.
Oh yes, we should allow him to join us this morning
Yes,
and have the conversation.
later on. Of course, I want to say good morning to Mr. Telvin. Good morning, sir. How are you doing this morning? I don't think he's hearing me this morning.
I'm
Let's.
hearing. Good morning. Does he
Good
give me good
morning.
morning?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good
You know,
morning.
the discussion gets a little more, you know, yeah, a little rougher than usual this morning. When you touch some topics in it, it's very, very clear thoughts are there. I don't have those thoughts misrepresented or misplaced because it connects to too many places. So you can see the chain of connection, it's hard for you to miss it. So sometimes people miss it so easily. So I don't know how. So I just said, but I want to say good morning. Of course, what's up for us this morning for our financial advice this morning? Of course, we know that there's, I don't know if that's what you want to talk about this morning. Christmas is coming and the books getting
Christmas is
fat.
coming.
As a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought it that way because I mean Black Friday is coming up, and and it seems like yesterday we had Richard on here, and he was talking about exercising restraint and all of that, and not being caught up in the buzz, and finding other ways of gift giving. And then I just blinked my eyes. I just like, and we're having the conversation again. Richard, we are at that point where our pockets are in demand and they're not very deep.
Wow. I can speak for myself.
What do you have to share with us this morning, Richard?
All right. So this morning we're going to talk about a holiday spending survival guide. How to keep Black Friday and Christmas from wrecking your financial plan. So how are you all today when it comes to your financial plan? Are you off track? Are you off course? Or how off course are you?
Well, my financial plans,
How is it?
here's a deal for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have any financial plans is another matter altogether. So I've been trying to make sure that I correct that thought and put a few things in place, making some budgets. Like you talked about making budgets all the time. You have to budget for this, budget for that. And so what I have been doing is ensuring that and when I look at it, I know exactly what I'm going to spend for this thing. So I have a few events that I want to do. And so what I've been doing is I've been making my budget. Yeah, end of year coming up, a little bit of appreciations and stuff like that, and we have to be doing that. And so I've been writing little tiny digits down on the various little items that we want to have. So now we are definitely making sure that we don't overspend or keep writing down the things so we have a clear view of how much we are going to be spending and know that we don't want to not have that money when we finish spending. So that's where we are this month.
Mikey G, it sounds like you should have taken over the topic this morning, man.
No, I just know that. But you see, you've been teaching me so many things. So this morning I've been resolute in my mind. I've clearly set my things in place, and I'm adopting those principles. So your student has actually become yeah,
The
learning.
teacher. Very well done.
Well, all
Very
right.
well
Here
done.
you go. Yeah, I've been learning.
So today we'll look at how to enjoy the holidays without compromising on your financial goal, right?
Okay.
So I call it the spending trap. Again, you know that I love my statistics. I forgot I was going to mention a statistic to you before I started, just in keeping with your line of thought, but I'll probably do that at the end.
Okay.
Statistics on consumer spending during Black Friday and Christmas shows that our spending habits go up significantly. In other words, we go as much as three times our spending during that period of time. So while the season is here and the lure of these Black Friday deals and the joy of Christmas spending, we have to look at the expense that comes with it. Remember now, while it can bring good cheer, it also brings financial stress if we're not careful. So, as Mikey G said, let us start with a plan. Set a spending limit. Start out by deciding how much you can afford to spend for the entire season. Again, as Mikey G got it hit on the mark there, make a list. Even Santa makes his list and he checks it twice. Include everyone that you plan to buy for with a spending limit for each of them. Child 1, child 2, child 3, child 4, child 5, child 6. Good? Then you shop smart, research the deals. I will give you a quick example. I was shopping for a laptop. I think it was 2 years ago, just after COVID. And I went in and I said, I'm going to wait till Black Friday. No lie. I was the one. I needed it for September, right? School time. And I said, you know something? I need this laptop back to school. I'm going to buy this buy the laptop. So I bought the laptop. I got a back to school sale. Can't remember the price now. But let us say, for argument's sake, it was $1,000. Black Friday came around, not even 3 months later, and I said, "Let me look at it because I do need another computer because I had to give up my own to my child, to one of my children." And believe me, same specs, same everything, on sale for $1,200. Good.
Wow.
Now, of course, you have to shop around to make sure you get the same specs that you wanted, same brand that you wanted, that you believe in. But the point is, you found that that was what was happening. So you'll be surprised to know what happens at it. Shop smart, as I explained, research the deals. Not all Black Friday sales are genuine bargains. Compare your price before committing to the deal.
You mean it sometimes you think it's half price off, but actually it's the same price that it was.
Exactly. It's half price of the price that it was this morning at 10 o'clock. So we are double the price, and now we put it back at half of what it was.
Right. Hmm.
So you have been misled completely. The illusion of thinking that you are actually getting a deal.
Yes.
Right.
Uh,
Another trick that uh, shop owners will do is half price sale, and what or BOGO, buy one get one. And what you find is that when you do the fine detail, it's half price on certain products, or when you buy one and get one, it's buy one and get the second one at half price. And if you go down and drill down, the second one must be cheaper than the first one. So we can always call names, but I won't call names on this program. But there are places like that that will do it. And remember, it is advertising. They are promoting their store.
Right.
So we are the one that's lured into there. We have to just make sure that we research it. Then use your tool. There are, I won't say million, but there are hundreds of apps or dozens of good apps and websites to track your discounts and avoid impulse purchase. So for like me, rather than go into the store, I was online shopping for my laptop. And notice I use the sale, Black Friday sale, for what it was intended as the sale because I needed the item. Right? I just
Right.
didn't go up and say, oh, they have a good price now on laptops, I'm going to buy one. And then you end up with two laptops that you don't need it.
Wow.
Be creative in your giving and be meaningful. There was a year one of my nieces organized a secret Santa exchange, an online secret Santa. And what you found was that, like Jamaicans have it, I don't know where else we do it if in the world, but where would I have a pixie? So within the family, each person was given one other person to buy a gift for. And let us say for me, I would say, hey, listen, I need a dozen white shirts. Just saying. And the person who got the secret Santa may go out and say, hey, listen, the budget for, say we use $1,000. The budget is $1,000. So you find that that person end up spending and buying a good gift for that one person for $1,000 rather than trying to spend, let's say it's a big family, $100 for 10 persons within the family. And I'm talking about, in my case, children, siblings, nieces, nephews. Good? So something like that is an idea. And of course, you can also opt for like DIY, do it yourself.
Mm.
My brother loved tools. So, we could look at that type of experience based gift. We could look at doing an ATV trip for another family member and give them a gift card. So what you find is that you can be very creative in how you decide on gifting, and that creativity should help you to be more specific with the type of gift that you give the person as well as within your budget. Now the big one, avoid holiday debt. Don't rack up your credit card just for the sake of spending, right?
Mm.
Use your limit wisely. Use your credit cards, of course, but ensure that you can pay off that balance immediately. So it don't make sense you have a $1,000 limit or a $2,000 limit and you rack it right to the limit when you know that it's only half the money you'll have to pay off. So work your credit cards to the max that you can afford. I didn't say max your credit card.
You have to keep
I said
a balance. You have to keep a balance in the mix of things.
you have to keep a balance. So if you have a debit card where you can go over what you have in the bank account, if you have a credit card, which many of us do have, go to the limit of what you can pay back. So if you have $1,000 in your savings account for this purpose, then that's where you carry your card to.
Well, I know you can't give me none of those cards.
Okay, not a problem.
You don't have self control.
So,
No,
so
well,
we are,
I don't know what that means when it comes to buy. I wanted something to get it, and I want to buy it, and I need to have it right now. I need it, and if you give me that power, I'm gonna have problems right there. I don't, I feel that already. I know what I'm gonna be doing. I'm
then
gonna be
you focus
spending
on
that
the big
money.
picture.
So
Focus on the big picture. Remember your financial goals.
yes,
The holidays, in our case, is what? 2 days or 2 weekends? Those are temporary. We have the rest of the year to live out. Financial stability is long lasting. We are talking about the next 30 years, 40 years, 50 years of our lives. Do we want to really be carrying that debt? And just to, I heard a story just a few years ago. A gentleman has a student loan and he finally paid off his student loan at 40.
Senior fellow at
This is 15 years of paying off his student loan right in the United States.
right.
He left college at 25, and at 40
Wow.
he was just paying off his student loan. He had no other
But
asset
but
forward because of his student loan was so high, and the job that he got was paying him just enough to pay off the student loan and nothing more.
the system of thinking within the US is that you must have debt to really survive in that culture, and that's something that I've been watching and listening to. That if you don't rack up some debts, you're not going to have a good credit score, and the credit score is what is the society is based on, and they basically teach you how to be in debt, not to come out of it actually. And to listen to it from a different perspective. Some people feel already offended, one, disheartened, two, and don't have a clue, three, how to do this. Even after saying it to them, they are already been ingrained so deeply in it that they can't. appreciate this conversation.
And you have to also remember too that it's unfortunate to say, but because of the proliferation of credit cards, our children come and see us and they think that that piece of plastic is an ATM, and so the moment that you go and you draw the credit card and say, I'm going to buy something, and they put that chips on the counter and you don't say anything about it. You swipe your card and it goes through. They come up wanting that piece of plastic to run same way. There's
Without
a young lady that I've been advising, and she's in the States now, and she wrote me and says, I'm going to take a credit card because I need to get some credit. I went to buy something at like Walmart or wherever. And I said, don't get a credit card. Get a Walmart card since you go to Walmart to buy your stuff.
right.
Right? So she was being frugal in the first place. Now, what she turned around doing is that Walmart didn't want to give her a card because she did not have any credit. So she went to the bank to open an account and they gave her a credit card. Within the space of 3 months, the credit card is $300. Space of 3 months, she has already racked up credit card debt. I said, how do you feel about that? So we were talking at the 3 month point. I said, how do you feel about that? It doesn't feel good because she was spending cash all her life, right? And she don't know
No,
where she's
she's
going to get the
spending.
$200 now because though she's on this exchange program, right? So now she has to pay off the credit card at the end of the month. And of course, if you don't know anything about these student exchange programs or exchange programs that go up, you get paid weekly or fortnightly. You don't get paid monthly. So 1 week or one fortnight is to pay the rent and buy the stuff. The second fortnight is to pay the utilities and grocery. So she buys
Wow.
grocery half and half. No, she don't have the $200 to pay it. And I said, but you are the one that put yourself in debt. I said, how much can you afford? I can afford 150. I said, I'm pay the 150.
Yes.
And
So
then
now
the
you
worst
have
part,
half
what
the
did you
bill.
buy with it? That, that was the other part. That was shocking. What did you buy with it? I
Nothing
said,
of
I bought some
consequence.
stuff because I want to get some, right? But nothing of consequence to make it worth the pain. And this is just
That's
three
it.
months later.
Wow.
So again, you don't need this stuff, leave it alone, right? How many pairs of shoes can your one pair of feet wear? Just a thought. And of course, reflect on the meaning of the season, which is more about the relationship than the retail. Good? So let us look more at meaningful relationships. How can we spend the holidays building those relationships? Yes, it is good to share the gift. And don't get me wrong, I look forward to something, anything, right? And I appreciate whatever you give me. But once you give me and I feel a part of and I feel the love and the relationship that we are building, then that's far more important than the gift that you have given me. Good? Holidays are overwhelming generally, but they don't have to be. We just need to be planning ahead, as you have said, Mikey G. Shop wisely. Focus on what you truly want. Focus on what truly matters, which is the relationship. That's me for today. That's how I conclude.
Oh
That's the
man.
sweet and nice, Richard. Thank you so much. So relevant. I went into a store just last week. They were having a sale, and I never really planned to buy one. But of course, I just found myself purchasing something that was not even in my budget. I haven't even used it for the week that I thought I needed it because it was on sale, you know. So it's very important that you be deliberate during the holiday, and you can't say it too much. So thank you so much for sharing those relevant tips that we will need as we go forward in the holiday season.
Well, I am definitely better for it this morning, of course, for those who are listening, and of course, for those who are viewing on Flashpoint Media, and of course, for those who are listening on radio, www.flashpointmedia.ky, and of course, we're on our Instagram and of course on our Facebook page. Guys,
Yes, I want to say big up to Dr. Wilton MacDonald the second. He has always come on our pages and give us a like, and he has been listening. So good morning all the way over there in Poland.
all right. Well, of course, I guess our financial advisor will want to be found, and of course, you want to let our listeners know how can they find you, and of course, get some of these really needed advice going forward.
Great. So my email address is broker@richardthelwell.com.
Yes.
That's broker @richardthelwell.com. And you can view my podcasts, of course, right here on the station. And for the blogs, it's at richardthelwell.com.
All right, there you have it, ladies. Of course, we're going to be, of course, we're going to say this morning, ladies is, of course, our producer of this program. And of course, for those who don't know, today she is the one in charge of our conversation today here. All right, so we want to thank you this morning for our listeners and our viewers this morning for staying with us so far. Of course, the conversation continues. And of course, to our financial advisor, of course, for what he has done and how much information was disseminated from his platform this morning and
Yes, yes,
beneficial to
yes.
you and me. I'm happy for it. And I'm telling you, just listening to the conversation sometimes makes me know that I must be careful how I go out and spend, how I do it.
Yeah, I know it's time for news. I know you have been listening to find out what is happening all over Cayman and the rest of the world.
Oh,
Of course,
good.
our
Yes.
news brought to us today by Asai Ultrasound Imaging. Let's hear what's happening in our news today.
Good morning. These are your news headlines on Flashpoint Radio. I am Coralie Karen. From immigration to infrastructure, key issues for the next election. As the general election approaches, 5 major issues dominate the agenda for political contenders. Immigration reform remains a hot topic as Caymanians continue to make up a minority of the population, raising questions of culture and heritage. Population growth, now nearing 90,000 residents, has sparked debates about carrying capacity and its effects on housing and infrastructure. Large-scale projects such as the cruise port and east-west arterial road are expected to divide opinions alongside long-standing concerns about the rising cost of living. Lastly, voters may look for leaders who can turn promises into action after years of coalition challenges. CCTV network expansion for 2025. Cayman's CCTV network will undergo major upgrades next year with plans to fill gaps and add resilience to public safety systems. Director of Public Safety Communications, Sean Vasquez, stated that strategic locations will be targeted to enhance crime prevention and investigations. Upgrades will also extend to the sister islands, with discussions ongoing to finalize the number and placement of new cameras. A mother's plea for justice. A grieving mother in Cayman Brac is continuing her fight for answers after the 2022 death of her 2-year-old daughter, Alizade Azalea Powell. Official reports ruled the cause of death as drowning, but bruises on the child's neck and unanswered questions have left Yaveni Dixon Powell unsatisfied. Despite police investigations, she has hired her own forensic expert and continues to push for justice, turning her anguish into determined advocacy. Now to regional news. Vision 2030 goals reaffirmed despite delays. The Planning Institute of Jamaica remains committed to its Vision 2030 goals, although achieving developed country status within the original timeline appears unlikely. Dr. Wayne Henry, PIOJ Director, highlighted mixed progress, but assured that growth continues. Over 60% of key development indicators show improvement, with ongoing efforts focused on sustainable progress in all dimensions of governance and society. Debt amnesty for NWC customers. Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced a 3-month debt amnesty for National Water Commission NWC customers starting January 2, 2025. Targeting pensioners and those in need under the PATH program, the initiative will waive outstanding debts for disconnections over 2 years old and remove reconnection fees. The move aims to ease financial burdens and facilitate economic activity by clearing property-related debts. Digicel spreads holiday cheer. Digicel's One Home, One Jamaica campaign promises a barrel of joy this holiday season. The promotion offers customers a chance to win a barrel of things, bringing the Christmas tradition of receiving goodies from abroad into local celebrations. The campaign kicked off with a festive staff engagement on November 15. Over to Trinidad and Tobago. Dengue fever causes rise. The Ministry of Health reports over 2,000 confirmed cases of dengue fever in Trinidad and Tobago, with 19 fatalities. Residents are urged to clean mosquito breeding sites and use protective measures. Symptoms include fever, headaches, muscle pain, and nausea. Anyone experiencing symptoms should seek immediate medical attention. Massey Holdings restructures board. Massey Holdings will downsize its board from 13 to 9 members, aiming for improved governance and shareholder value. 70% of the new board will be independent, non-executive directors. The change aligns with a strategic review to enhance decision-making and accountability. Grenada reviews environmental strategy. Grenada is upgrading its 2005 National Environmental Management Strategy to address modern challenges. Focus areas include plastic pollution, marine conservation, and energy management. The initiative, supported by the OECS, emphasizes community input to ensure sustainable solutions. Dominica pursues sustainable agriculture. Dominica is proactively building a resilient agricultural sector as it awaits international climate aid. With support from organizations like the IICA, the island is working to sustain its 6,000 farmers while continuing to supply neighboring islands. Minister Roland Royal emphasized agriculture's importance for regional food security and economic growth. Those were your headlines on Flashpoint Radio. Please continue to stay tuned for updates throughout the day. There are music and conversations that matter.
When you need ultrasound that's safe and effective, you must visit Asai Ultrasound Imaging. They're conveniently located at number 4 Chestnut Center, Smith Road, Georgetown, Cayman Islands. With experienced technologists with over 20 years experience, their friendly staff will make you comfortable while you get your procedure done. Asai Ultrasound Imaging is open Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Call Asai Ultrasound Imaging 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426. That's 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426.
Of
We
course,
we say
this
thank
morning.
you for Asai Ultrasound for being a sponsor here on the Breakfast Hour. You know, Mikey G, so much coming from the news this morning.
Yes, quite a bit. As I could listen to so many different things going on.
Elections coming up here in Cayman Islands. Yesterday we were talking
Uh,
about elections in Jamaica, and the week before we were talking about elections in the US. It's just in the air, in the air. So,
well, we talked about the U.S. elections just earlier,
yes,
and that happened. We talk about the the different elections that are going on around the world. The 80 election just went on, and chaos is breaking out over that.
uh-huh,
Um, you look at Jamaica is coming up for their election.
yes,
The Cayman Islands is having theirs coming up faster than before, and the new governance structures are being formed from everywhere.
yeah,
I understand that the Honorable Makiba Bush is actually reforming a new
party,
party
yes,
to contest the premiership of the Cayman Islands coming up in the upcoming election. There are exciting times ahead, ladies. A lot to look forward to.
of course, yes. Immigration issues is one of the key areas they will be discussing as they recognize that the population, the Caymanian population, is in the minority. So certainly, any leader would want to secure the population here in the Cayman Islands to ensure that the Caymanians are definitely secure in this coming election. So much happening. Dengue fever over
Mm.
there in Trinidad, and those Aedes aegypti mosquitoes are doing what they are known to do.
Naturally, they just do what
Yes,
they do.
they
Not,
just do
not
what
a
they
strange thing.
do.
That's how it
They
works.
just do what they do. They just do what they do. And of course, so much happening,
On
but
the note,
yes,
on, on the note of the population control, immigration for the Cayman Islands, it's a pretty interesting thing. The population being 90,000 at this point
wow.
was a whopping 90,000 persons
Just the
living in
other day it was like 60. I
60,
remember when it
60
was
something
60
thousand.
some
Yes.
thousand. Yeah, yeah,
This was something that was proposed by the then government of the UDP government, Makiba Bush, that
yes,
says the Cayman Islands needed a 100,000 population for it to actually sustain itself and to become viable in the way it should be viable
yes,
as an economic plan,
yes.
right? So if you see it happening and somebody else is implementing it, that's where that conversation came from. I'm not an advocate for a political platform or political perspective, but I will tell you that I follow politics and I see and I hear things when they are being said, and I know where it comes from. So when somebody else is saying that somebody did this and I know who started it or why it is. It's like somebody said the rule of a policy came in effect because Makiba Bush would have been the one who implemented the rule of a policy, but then then Prime Minister Kirk Tibbetts would have been the one who
Premier,
implemented it. It would have been the prime minister. It would have been the
premier,
premier
mm-hmm.
at the time. Do we have prime minister now?
Premier. No,
The premier. And
yes,
so what happened was he was the one who implemented that and then said that the fault of the when everything blew back when it had a negative effect on the country. He
Yes.
said that it was Makiba who made the law, and so he was not responsible for it. But he says this is a concept that came from that. If somebody make a gun and give it to you, who's responsible for shooting somebody with it? You know, so you have to look at that. You have to weigh these things. So we have these varying arguments coming out, and people infected left, right, and center. But here we are once
Yes.
again with the 100,000 persons in the Cayman Islands idea.
Yes.
Cost of living is going through the roof. Now,
Yes.
people are now associating the cost of living going through the roof with
Yes.
the 100,000 persons who are living in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
But in truth and in fact, you could say yes, but not because there's 100,000 persons in the Cayman Islands that is coming in. It's because of greed. What is happening is that people, because of the population increase, people are exploiting persons, using their means of the several means of doing it. And one of those means are housing. People have significantly raised the rental properties increase in terms of fees for rental
Boy,
property.
it can't get any higher. It
It has,
cannot.
it has, it
It's
has basically toppled, and people not
yes.
looking at, and I don't know if the economists, if we do have economists in the Cayman Islands and we don't have much economic reports, but then I guess Touchpoint must come up with an economists for the Cayman Islands and economic reports reading just about maybe not every morning, but at least
Yes.
one per week. We'll probably have an economic report on what the economy is like in Cayman and what we can do and what we can't do. But then
Yes.
here is a deal on it.
What?
When they, I'm going to just put the what you call the spoke in the wheel,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
right? Where we have now embarked upon a high rental property mindset
Yes.
that everybody wants to get $1 million for a matches box.
I want to say good morning to Ian. Morning, Ian.
Everybody wants to get $1 million for a matches box now.
Yeah, there was a picture, and I mean the conversation sweet because I have that video up to share, so we have to share that one. But there was a picture on social media recently of a closet being converted
Being
to.
rented. No, a closet being rented. So
Yes, 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 yes.
just understand where we're going, right? And
All
so
you need, that's where we're going. Have you ever watched these movies where you have these bunkers and these things that you just pull out and you just need to sleep?
right. So people are now renovating, and they're now renovating their properties and stuff like that
Yes,
to hike the price of rent up. Now here's the disadvantage that you have actually caused. We are talking about the indigenous persons of Grand Cayman Islands and the persons who needs to benefit from this, because what you know is that persons who come in from various ethnic backgrounds have different way of surviving, because they're
yes,
not coming for a long term to stay, because in most cases you can't stay even if you want to. So what you need to do is that you come in, you get what you need, and you get out. So people are willing to sacrifice the space that they live in, share quarters, and live in tight spaces to achieve their objective to build their property or buy a property in their country and actually live better where they are going to go back next. But
yes,
they live menial within the country. No matter who you are in your country, whether you're always a policeman coming from there or you're a doctor or whatever, you try to minimize your lavish lifestyle that you normally live in your previous country and
yes.
come to the United to live less to save more, right?
Live a
But here's,
longer life. But remember, I
here,
have that video to share, Mikey G.
I know, but I think if we're going to go to the video, I think we should just, if it's the same video we shared earlier, I want to come back to that conversation tomorrow because we don't have the time.
So you're not gonna let me share it?
All right, hold on. Let me finish this. Let me finish, and you can share the video now. Share it right afterwards. Here's where we're going to go.
Yes,
The persons who have now racked up the rent idea has now rendered the children of the Cayman Islands unable to leave your parents' houses. Okay? Because they can't afford the rent. Because
yes.
what is happening? That one set of persons can live in threes, fours, and fives. And next set can only live in twos or threes. Now, how prudent will it be for a young Caymanian, a young, vibrant Caymanian with with his girlfriend or his wife, or in this sense, living together, wanting to move into your own space, or you don't want to have any wife or no husband, but you want to have your own property where you can at least have some semblance of independence from your parents' house. But then the salary that you earn, the rent is more than it right now. And this did not come because you created the problem as a youngster or as a child, but the parents of the children would have wanted to be. Here's the deal on it. You would try to rip off the persons who come to work within the Cayman Islands, take away the money through renting the property expensive, so you can't leave with any money at all. So by using that mindset to take back the money, what you have done is render your children unable to even get out of your house. You understand? And this is a thing that we think that we are doing justice or injustice to persons who come to try to work and achieve something. Then you try to take it back through the back door from them, but then render your children in a situation that they can't come out of. No, the two can't work. You'd have to know that the persons who come in your society are there for a short while, and then you just know that you just have to accept that as the way that the Cayman Islands function, and that's the economic structure. Because in work permits alone, if you look at the millions of dollars that pass through the government's hand just in work permits alone, then that should not be a deterrent from allowing persons to come and then earn their monies and then do what they want with it. You don't have to institute, and it's not the government plan to do it, but the individual mindset of the individuals within the Cayman Islands would want to take back money from the persons who earn and then rent these properties at high expenses that they don't leave with 1 cent in their pocket, so they go back home penniless or basically work from hand to mouth, raising the cost of living using that method, and now nobody is safe from it. The very persons who do it is now suffering from it too. So we did it to our own self just to want to be unkind to some persons. You know? So all right, ladies, I think you should play the video now. Let's have it.
Our next speaker is Margaret Hamilton, followed by John Amanchukwu.
Hello. I'm here to speak on behalf of our younger children and their academics. This book, It Feels Good to Be Yourself, which has an oxymoronic title based on its content, can be found in 26 elementary schools. It is geared towards K2, and as Macmillan Publisher says, it basically is geared toward ages 4 through 8. It introduces 4 different characters with different gender identities. It makes it seem as if gender is an imaginary concept that can be changed on a whim, when the truth is gender is factual. You're either a boy or a girl. And gender identity, what you see yourself as, that's imaginary. Well, let me read you a couple of things. First character is Ruthie. She's a transgender girl. That means when she was born, everyone thought she was a boy until she grew a little older, old enough to tell everyone that she's actually a girl. Then there's her brother Xavier. Xavier is a cisgender boy. Which 4 through 8-year-old knows what cisgender means? Can they spell cisgender? That means when Xavier was born, everyone thought he was a boy, and as he grew older, it turned out everyone was right. He was a boy. Then there's Alex, the friend. Alex is both a boy and a girl. Then there's JJ. JJ is neither a boy nor a girl. Ever since JJ was very little, they never felt exactly like a boy or girl. They just felt like themselves. This is JJ's gender identity. Some kids feel like girls. Some kids feel like boys. Some kids feel like a little bit of both. Part boy, part girl. Reminds me of that old commercial. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Is that okay? Some kids don't feel exactly like a boy or a girl. They feel like neither. Some kids feel that their gender identity isn't always the same. It's often changing. So now are we endorsing schizophrenia? What are we doing? Whether you feel like a boy or a girl or neither, if you describe yourself another way, that is your gender identity. When does this foolishness stop? When you shroud lunacy, insanity, or fallacy in colorful words and pictures to be read to young children, you have created an unsafe environment, since we're talking about safe environment, right? Where does it stop? At this tender age, our children should be learning their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Who authorized this? Who told you that you are God? Who gave you permission to tell our children who they are and who they're supposed to be? This is intentional and evil at its core. Get back to what you were elected to do and formally educate our children, not indoctrinate them with left-wing ideologies under the guise of providing a safe and welcoming space. Hear us clearly. We will not surrender our children. Leave our children alone.
Leave our children alone. Yeah, and that's a passionate uh, um, mother expressing what is happening over there in the school, and this book is being shared, being taught, I should say, to kindergarten children. It's very, very interesting.
Lady Alice, this problem is not something that is just a light one. It's a broad, broad spectrum. I want to say,
Broad.
when I say, earlier I was talking about the idea of the masculine men, women that we're finding within our ranks, and we are seeing this thing being transitioned. We have to see how it starts and the connectivity of it. Now, I want to just sympathize with those who have found themselves in this position, and sometimes you're not knowingly doing it. You're knowing it, you're not knowing, you don't know until you hear me say this now. It's the first time you've heard this. And, they did not know that this is what is really happening. But when I look at my biblical principles and I see where the Bible operates, it don't operate in this realm. This realm says that God is Father, and then Jesus is Son. You understand? And you don't have God the Mother. And what you're looking at, you're looking at the God the Mother within the churches as well, coming to us, seeing this. When we talk about the bride of Christ, there's a principal rule of the bride of Christ. It means that's a female. Now, are the bride of Christ the men? And so we have to see these things as a rule of how we operate. We have to watch this thing that we bring and be clear on how we do it. Now, 26 different genders within our schools, and our children are being taught this. Now, if this generation of men are because you're looking at a weaker set of men now, than before, right? Because they're agreeing to some disagreeable things. But then what with our children coming up in this next generation being taught this nonsense will behave like? I wonder if the girls will definitely be the boys, and the little boys will definitely be the girls. And so these things are not going to be opposing. I would say to you, what would you say 1 month ago? We'd be having this conversation, but we could hardly have it. But we want to give thanks to the President Donald Trump elect. I'm not saying Donald Trump is the best president of the United States. I'm not saying that he's any Lord or God over anything. But what I would say is God would use him to put a brakes on this nonsense, so you and I could be able to have the conversation with our children now. And if you're an educator or a school or a church school, you can now quickly go and try to make some rules and some laws now, try to lobby some laws for 4 years to prevent this from coming in your school, because after 4 years it's going to come. It's coming. So don't think that this is stopped. It is when we talk about the angels roll back the winds of strife, the Bible says that the angels are there that holds it back. This is the way God's holding it back. You can see God's angels holding it back by placing a Donald Trump just to stop an agenda quickly, so you can actually see it going forward. No, there's twofold to it. Underneath that agenda, we are having robots that are going to be impregnated. So there's a wide thing that we need to share these stories. And as we go forward, I'm going to share that story come tomorrow. Maybe we can look at that. Robots having babies, right? And so we look at the abortion situation. Let me tell you something. We have the devil has been very busy, and the church must set clear precedents and pathways, not confusing, because we cannot have the confusion in the world and have the confusion within the church. And so that's what we are looking at. We have no churches that are no gay pastors. Here's the rule on this one. The pastor is a man and his wife is a man. Which of course, here's where you get this scripture, Timothy chapter 3, that says if a bishop seeks the office, he seeks a good thing. The man seeks the office of a bishop, he seeks a good thing. Now, if this is true, if this is a true statement, and the man would seek this office and would want to be honorable in God's sight, then he would also seek a wife. This man chooses another man to be his wife. Now, here is a female bishop. What should she choose? Should she choose also a wife or a husband? Because the Bible distinctly says a wife. And so we now see that we are now genderizing, we are using the gender identity within the very context of Christianity, and not realizing it mentally that we are actually stepping into the same place that we are against, or we talk so strongly against, and now using it within our ranks, because that's where we are today. We are no farther from that. And I mean, I don't have. It's a big. This is a lot to talk about. It's not something simple.
I know.
It saddens my heart to see that we are God's people who are discerning persons with discerning spirit,
We have
who
other things dealing
understand,
with, Mikey
who
G.
understand the biblical connotations and principles. We are
We are
very
dealing with other stuff, Mikey G. Other stuff.
we have lost our sight. And that's why I said I'm sympathizing with the persons who are actively participating in this thing right now. And I say to you, I know, honest to God, I believe in all my heart, you don't know that that's what's happening. Until I say it this morning, some people never hear it before. They have never heard it anywhere. And so I am saying this morning to our friends and our family members, guys, pay close attention. We no longer want to adhere to the LNG White's concept of what we believe as people anymore. We don't want to do it. We don't want to adhere to these things. We don't want to adhere to Christian principles as it is recorded in the Bible. We want to come up with our own mindset of how we feel. I can't feel about something and then do it. Because every time I feel about something in my own mind, I'm wrong. If that's the premise that we are going on, then we have lost our way. Now, here is an opportunity that we have, is to revisit our biblical principles. Look at what we are doing, and then pray about it. Because it's a matter of praying, It's not a matter of hating anybody or upset about it and whatever. Because the Bible says in the last days, there will be a great falling away from the truth. People will be corrupt with things. They will want to do what they want to do and not care what the Bible principle says. And this is the church we're talking about. We're not talking about the world. We as a church must set a clear example for what the world should see. And that don't mean we are all perfect men and women here, but then we are with a perfect God who wants us to become like him. And with that knowledge, we would want to operate in that sense, right? And so we should pay attention to the word of God, and then not let ourselves be caught up in the narrative of the worldview, and then we have it here. Here's what I want to leave with is our point. Everything and every argument must have a point of reference. And if we are having a conversation, where are you referencing your arguments from? Where are you referencing your belief from? Is what I would ask today. I would say the Christian church need to reference its belief from the Bible. That's what I would say. Our children are in trouble, and the church must be that defense mechanism in place to prevent and to help to guide our children properly, and not apply the same mix-up views that we are seeing in the world today. Let's fix that. I hope somebody hear this conversation and, of course, benefited from it. We hope not to offend anyone, but to make clear the word of God. And we don't want to put down. One thing I say to people all the time: do not leave the church of God. It is God's true church. The wheat and the tares must grow together till the day of harvest. Let me leave that conversation there. So, the wheat and the tares must grow together until the day of harvest. So, God's true church is going to have problems. But there must be people who are identified as wheat, and you must be able to see the tares clearly. Can't pluck them up because sometimes them too tightly wrap around the neck of the wheat. You have to watch that, you know? So, Elise, over to you.
Just as we get out of studio, just to remind you of a few things happening. Of course, the music day at Savannah, of course, is one thing we'll share with you.
Get ready for a musical journey unlike any other. On Saturday, November 30, 2024, Savannah Seventh day Adventist Church proudly presents a day of worship, inspiration, and music that will lift your soul to new heights. This year, we're embracing the theme Sermon Through Music, a divine symphony of creation, grace, love, redemption, and the soon coming of Jesus. From the opening note of divine worship at 10:30 a.m. to the final chords of our evening service at 4 p.m., you'll journey through the story of God's love expressed through music. Each phase of the divine plan will be beautifully narrated in song. This is a day for everyone. Whether you love the majestic harmonies of timeless hymns, the lively rhythms of contemporary worship, or the classical beauty of the old favorites, we have got something special just for you. Picture this: a full day of corporate worship, singing along with your church family to songs that have touched hearts across generations. Lift your voice as we unite in harmony, celebrating the wonder of creation, the miracle of grace, the power of love, and the promise of redemption. With guest artists, choirs, and special presentations, each moment is crafted to draw you closer to God's presence. It's a day of joy, reflection, and hope, all centered on the soon return of Jesus. Bring your families, bring your friends, and most importantly, bring your hearts ready to worship. So, save the date, November 30, 2024, Savannah Seventh day Adventist Church, divine worship at 10:30 a.m., evening service at 4 p.m. Come, be a part of the Divine Symphony, a worship experience you won't want to miss. Let the music of heaven fill your soul and reignite your faith.
There you have it, Savannah Music Day coming up this weekend. Just also want to remind our listeners or viewers, of course, Dr. K will be on tomorrow for Wellness Wednesday, and so you gotta, of course, be prepared to get your check,
Yeah.
your wellness check with
Well, we
Dr.
have
K.
what you call a cold front that is passing over all over. And of course, it came from the US, from that side, or Canada, that around that end. And it
Yes.
passes over Cayman. And I think the cold front is now in Jamaica.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have persons who are suffering now because when it comes around, you have different, your body sometimes break down. At that point, people usually get cold, lot of what you call coughing and stuff like that happening to them.
Okay. All right. Well,
That's what I'm thinking.
stay well, everybody. It's time for us to get out of studio this morning. I want to thank you for joining us on this episode of the Breakfast Hour. It has been our absolute pleasure to be here. And of course, I will share the optimist creed. And I believe if we live by these simple creeds, we will be better persons. Promise yourself to look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come through.
Make a rent board for the Cayman Islands that regulate rents for the indigenous people and don't exploit the ones that come in to work. Make that something and justice will be served. You will find economical stuff regulated immediately. And that's my little bit. I'm the economist here. That's my little bit.
Yeah, I'm
Get a
getting
rent
it.
board in place. Just get a rent board in place. Stop this nonsense. Everybody can
All
have their own idea. It don't work.
all
Never work.
right. Have yourself a good day, everyone.
Guys, thanks for joining us. Of course, stick and stay with Flashpoint. Catch us tomorrow morning, same time, same place, when we do it all over again for you. 6:30 in the a.m. Of course, we start on radio, www.flashpointmedia.ky. Of course, go there. Radio is always playing. Continue to play 24 hours of the day. And of course, check out our TV, right? We have so many things going on. Just watch what we're doing, all right? You'll see stuff happening. Have yourself a beautiful one, guys. Continue to listen to Flashpoint and enjoy the rest of your day.
Won't you come outside where the sunflowers bloom? Breathe in the air, look up to the moon. I'll meet you outside, away from the crowd, just you